Well, good evening or afternoon, fellow story writers, fellow story hunters and thrill seekers. Fellow fellow cryptids of the natural and unnatural world, and welcome to Mr. Shadow. I'm going to tell you a story, something that happened to me a long time ago. On October 5th, 1987. I remember it promptly. I remember it promptly. It was during the evening. It was on a Saturday. And I was in my teens back then. And like every, typical teenager of the world, I was a little bit adventurous. And a little bit sassy back then, Had a lot going on, had a lot happening, Had a girlfriend, really popular at school. Had the works going on. It happened in the summer of '87 during the evening, and I remember it distinctly. I was walking home from a house party. And I was a little bit tipsy, a little bit drunk. So I started walking home. And as the alcohol kicked in, I started straying more and more off the beaten path. Until finally, I came across a clearing in the woods. There was a house there. It was kind of old, kind of broken down. And it looked kind of abandoned. Nobody was there. It was in a disheveled state. I wasn't sure what to think of it because I was, half drunk. So typical me, I had a little bit of that liquid courage in me. Hold on, let me share this out. Sorry about that. I had a little thing going on. But anyway, as I was saying, I came across this house. Hold on, I gotta put my music back on. I came across this house that was kind of in a disheveled state. Hold on, let me get some background music going on. I think I took it off. Sure. Hold up. Oh, that's not going to be good. There we go. Oh. There we go. But anyway, I came across this house that was in a kind of a disheveled state. And naturally, I was a little drunk at the time. And I decided to knock on the door. So I go up there, stumble to the door. The floors kind of creaked underneath me because the wood was a little rotted on the porch. So I knock on the door. Nobody answers. Can anybody hear the music okay? Yeah, it's showing, I think. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's good. But anyway, I approach the home and I knock on the door. Nobody answers. So, me and my infinite wisdom decides to open the door. So I open the door, and the door creaks open, the loud creak, like, and I go in there. The furniture is covered up with sheets. And everything looks like it's, like people haven't been there in days, weeks, months, years. Dust on all the furniture, everything's covered up. Then there was a staircase. So naturally, me and my infinite wisdom decided to explore it. So I went up there, and the stairs kind of creaked behind me, Didn't think anything of it. So I went up there. And I noticed there was a room upstairs that was locked. I couldn't get into. And I noticed that room was silent. There was nobody in there at all. And I slowly go back downstairs. And I could hear screaming coming from upstairs. And I go back up there. There was nothing. Everything was silent as a corpse. I go back downstairs. I could hear the screaming once more, and I could hear footsteps going up and down the stairs, and doors. I could hear doors slamming all throughout the house. And so I panic, and I run out of there quickly. And naturally, I stumbled over the porch and fell. Not thinking anything of it, I quickly picked myself up and I left in a hurry, not knowing that a dark shadow was standing right there on the edge of that porch, as if it was waiting, as if it was a sentry there. It didn't move. It didn't budge. It just stood there, staring off into the night, and then vanished behind the door. I quickly ran home, and so, not to wake up my family, it was late, I snuck in through the window and quickly changed my clothes and went to bed because I had school the next day. So I go to school the next day as if, nothing happened. So I finished out my school day, and the evening time came. And I went to go take a shower, and while I was taking off my shirt, I noticed 2 puncture marks on the side of my neck. And me not remembering anything, I didn't know what happened. I couldn't figure it out. So I started, business as usual. I went to bed that night, but I had trouble sleeping. Terrible nightmares. Bad dreams. Dreams about falling. Dreams about darkness and all kinds of things. And I woke up the next morning and I felt tired and sick. And I told my mom I couldn't go to school that next day because I was feeling ill. So my mom told me to stay in bed, and while she took care of me, fixed me up with a nice bowl of soup to make me feel better. I started feeling a little better as nighttime came. I felt the back of my neck. The 2 puncture wounds had disappeared, as if nothing had ever happened. And then after that, I started losing my appetite more and more. Then that's when I noticed the change. my skin started slowly peeling off, little by little, piece by piece. Then each day, next thing you know, my nails started peeling off. Then I started losing my teeth. And then got to the point to where my skin on my face started peeling. And then that's when I noticed. My family started talking with me, wondering what was going on with me, what was happening. And I said, I don't know. So they took me to the doctor. The doctor ran a few tests. Couldn't figure anything out. So they ran a few more tests. Still couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Things kept happening more and more and more. Until finally one day, I came across somebody and without thinking, I viciously attacked them. Consuming everything. I attacked somebody. Consuming everything. Their body, their organs, everything. Even gnawing on their bones and breaking their bones and eating the bone marrow inside. And when I got it all done, I started feeling better. My skin started growing back. My nails started growing back. I started looking normal again. And I thought everything was going to be fine. That it was going to be good. Then I noticed every few days this would happen. I would get this weird craving. And my body would start to deteriorate. And it would keep going and going and going. Till pretty soon, I wasn't even a man anymore. I started turning into a creature. Born of death. The craving for human flesh. I stayed that way for quite some time until I forgot who I was. The old person of who I was no more. The only thing that was left was the creature. A creature with pale white skin, long claws, and an appetite so insatiable that it could never be sated. So to this day, I run, I hunt to satiate that endless craving for human flesh, for human life. And there I will always remain. I hope you guys enjoyed this short story. If you like it, please do. If you subscribe, please do. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching, Mr. Shadow. And just remember, the shadows are always watching. Take care, fellow viewers. Until next time. Pleasant night.